Double-Edged Destiny, a Fracture's Alternative Universe fanfiction by Doglover61402 / The Christian Ninja. Chapter 5, Best Friends. The time is shortly after Chapter 2, and the setting is Lance's castle. "You're awfully quiet," Lance said. He carefully studied Ceris's face as they sat together on the couch. She stared blankly at a wall, and her cup of tea had been empty for some time now. "Are you okay?" Ceris shook her head, startled out of her memories by Lance's question. She closed her eyes and shrugged slightly. Her face twisted into a pained grimace when she shrugged. Even a slight movement such as this hurt greatly. "One, I'm quiet because I don't exactly want to talk to you, of all people. Two, to answer your question, what do you think?" she said in a quiet, irritated voice. Lance frowned and gazed at the floor. "I was just trying to show you that I care." "If you cared, you wouldn't have brought me back," Ceris groaned. She turned her head away from him and rested it on the back of the couch. She closed her eyes, wishing for sleep. Lance shook his head and sighed in frustration. "Ceris, one day you'll be glad I brought you back." He patted her on the top of her head. "So I was thinking—" "Stop touching me!" Lance quickly retracted his hand. "Right, sorry. Anyways, right now you should rest a bit. But tomorrow maybe we could do something fun? I have some cards and board games. Maybe we can play some of those." He smiled at her as he tugged on the blanket covering his cousin. It had fallen down into her lap, but he positioned it over her shoulders to keep her warm. "Fun?" she said in a low voice. The words sounded despicable. After everything she had endured in the past few days, she could not even fathom the concept of fun. "I'll never have fun again in my life. Death? Undeath? Why should someone like me, who failed, ever get to have fun again?" Her eyes, still closed, threatened to flood once more. She squeezed her eyes shut tighter than before. She wished she could remove herself from Lance's side. But she knew her body could still barely move. Ignoring him remained her only option. Fortunately, he quit talking. As they sat in silence, the memories of the past returned to her once more. The time is immediately after Chapter 4. Rain slowly crept through the hallways of the castle, carefully avoiding the guards and trying not to wake anyone up. He knocked on the door to the guest bedroom where Ceris slept. "Ceris, wake up! It's your friend Rain." Saying the word friend sent happiness through his veins. After a moment, she opened the door. "Rain," she said, barely awake. "What are you doing? It's the middle of the night." She rubbed her eyes. She blinked several times, trying to accustom herself to the light in the hallway. Her friend wore a winter coat, which puzzled her. "Put this on," he said, throwing a borrowed cloak at her. "Now, follow me. I think I know what to do now that we're friends." Excitement characterized his hushed voice. The pair quietly and quickly moved through the hallways of the castle with Rain in the lead. He took her to the first level and opened an exterior door. The trip did not end here, as Rain continued to lead her outside. Soon they had traveled outside of the city walls and into the cold tundra. A light snow fell from the gray clouds above, eliminating any light from the moon and stars. Only the torches on the city walls provided a little light. Rain slowly stopped a short distance from the gate. "What are we doing out here? Is this some sort of scouting trip?" Ceris asked, scanning the tundra for any sign of movement, which could signify danger. She felt a little nervous. Although she was an experienced fighter, she had not fought overworld enemies in a long time. "Nope," Rain said. He dropped to the ground and began forming a pile of snow. "Months ago, my friends and I used to have snowball fights, so we're going to do that right now." The feeling of the snowball forming in his hand brought back the wonderful feeling His dream had given him 10 minutes before. What? Why are we fighting? Again? Ceris asked, confused. Using snow as a weapon against an ally did not make sense. She carefully watched his actions. He did not seem to be angry like he had in their fight earlier. Instead, he seemed happy, almost childlike. "'Cause it's fun," Rain said. He finished his snowball and chucked it at Ceris. "Fun?" she asked. A split second later, the snowball hit Ceris in the face. The sudden burst of cold came as a bit of a shock, but that feeling faded in a matter of seconds, replaced by joy. She started to laugh as she cleared the snow from her face. Quickly, she realized this must be a human fighting game. "Ha! It's on, Dragon Tamer!" She quickly took handfuls of snow in each hand and hurled them at Rain. To her dismay, the projectiles disintegrated, blown away by the wind. Rain could not help laughing, while Ceris looked dumbfounded. "You don't know what to do. You don't know how to make a snowball, do you?" he asked with an accusing but humorous tone. "We don't have snow in the end." She held up her hands defensively. "All right, let me show you. You have to get a lot of snow." Rain grabbed 2 large handfuls of snow and pack it together. He tightly packed the snow into one icy projectile and tossed it at his friend, hitting her in the shoulder. "Your turn." Ceris stooped to the ground and scooped up a pile of snow. She packed it firmly into one ball. After inspecting it, she determined that it qualified as a true snowball. This time, the weapon managed to hit Rain in the chest. Ceris felt a sense of pride, and she smirked victoriously at her friend. "Now we're really ready to fight." The friends ran in opposite directions. Rain knelt down in the snow and formed a snowball as fast as he could. However, he was a second too late, as he felt a small snowball hit his exposed back. He whipped his head around and glared playfully at the attacker. Since she was still learning how to make snowballs, her snowballs were very small and hard. It instantly bounced off him and back into the snow. Rain's projectile, on the other hand, was bigger and packed just enough to hold it together mid-air. He hurled it at her, laughing as it exploded upon contact. Icy powder covered Ceris. Not willing to lose, she dropped to the ground and formed as many snowballs as fast as she could and chucked them at her friend, who was now charging toward her. Rain attempted to dodge the icy bullets flying at him. Her snowballs were still small and hard, and they hurt a little when they hit him. He ignored this and tackled her into the snow. Before she could get up, Rain hopped 3 blocks away and formed another snowball. He dropped it on her face. "Take that, my queen!" Ceris smirked as she shoved the snowball off of her face. She decided to copy his technique and make her snowballs bigger. She scooped a pile of snow together and packed it. "Don't talk to your queen like that!" "Ha!" she retorted with a laugh as she teleported in front of him and bashed his head with snow. Rain shivered all of a sudden while his friend laughed in his face. Snow had made its way underneath the collar of his coat. He picked up a fresh snowball and smashed it into her shoulder. "Sorry, but I'm about to knock you off your throne." He ran away from her quickly, retreating to buy himself some time. He also wanted to attack at a range instead of close up. "Treason!" Ceris yelled as her friend pelted her with snowballs. She rolled a new snowball and returned fire. Chunks of snow flew, creating a mini blizzard in the tundra. Their battle continued for 2 hours before a truce was declared and the snow-covered friends ran toward a frozen lake. The new challenge was to see who could slide farther across the ice. Rain ran a few blocks up the shore and toward the ice before dropping onto his stomach and sliding. He successfully propelled himself roughly 25 blocks across the ice. Ceris attempted to copy his tactic, but, as she was unused to the frozen environment, she failed and slid sideways. Her action sent her flying 15 blocks to the left and into a snowdrift. Rain tried to hide his laughter this time, but he failed. His friend responded by sending a snowball into his face. "Hey!" Rain shouted. "You broke the truce." "I had to do something to get you to stop laughing," Ceres replied as she fought her way out of the pile of snow. We also don't have ice in the end. You have to show me what to do. Rain wiped the snow out of his face. Okay, I'll teach you this too. After a quick demonstration from Rain on proper ice sliding technique, their contest continued. Rain did far better than Ceres due to his experience in the snow. However, neither one cared about winning or losing. The objective was to have fun. A few more hours passed, mostly occupied by snowball fighting, ice sliding, and building snow zombies and endermen. The gray clouds glowed red with the dawn before the two finally realized how tired and cold they felt. Rain, who had just been knocked to the ground by Ceres during another snowball fight, suddenly saw the colors in the sky. He bolted straight up into a sitting position. Oh, wow. It's dawn already. That means it's about 6 o'clock. He looked at Ceres, who stood a few blocks away, admiring the colorful clouds. He chucked a snowball at her back to get her attention. We've been out here for almost 5 hours. Want to go inside? I'll make coffee. Sure, we can go inside. She raised an eyebrow. But what is coffee? Rain smiled. Oh, it's great! It's this terrible tasting black liquid that makes you stay awake, Rain replied as they began walking toward the city gate. I do not understand why you would like to drink that, but if you think it's a good idea, Sarah said with a shrug. She yawned. Although she was tired, she had little interest in using coffee to wake up. The new friends returned to the Frostborn castle, finding that the clock read a few minutes before 6 o'clock, as Rain had suspected. Since it was breakfast time, he placed 2 pieces of bread in the toaster and some bacon in the oven. Ceres and Rain now sat together at the table, waiting for the food to finish as Rain drank his coffee. The entire coffee pot sat on Rain's side of the table. Ceres peered out the window while Rain drank his second cup of black liquid. She watched the snow clouds glow with the rising sun. This phenomenon did not exist in the end, and it had been decades since she had visited the overworld in time to see the sunrise. A glance at Rain through the corner of her eye revealed that he, too, gazed at the sunrise. Sarah smiled. Being with her newfound friend sealed this moment as one of her best new memories. Fun and exciting moments like their trip into the tundra had not come often in the past 150 years. True happiness filled her soul for one of the first times since the war. She enjoyed spending time with Rain so much that she did not even care much about her pajamas and borrowed cloak being soaked with water. The bread, now crispy, popped out of the toaster. Rain rose from his seat. I guess I better check on the bacon too, he said. As he buttered the toast, he thought about the contrast between the night's events and yesterday's battle. Hours ago, he would have never dreamed that he and the End Matriarch would be friends. His mind wandered back to Glacier Ford, where he had made many memories with his late friends. He had many moments of this kind of joy with those friends, but now all those memories were bittersweet. Their deaths and his treatment in the Frostborn castle robbed him of his joy, replacing it with depression. Ceres, however, had restored a bit of that happiness. A little flame of hope sparked inside of him, making him wonder if he could have his joy back. Rain pulled the bacon out of the oven and put it on the plates with the toast. He brought these back to the table and set them down. Suddenly, he became worried about Ceres, who was aggressively scratching her arm. Are you okay? Her arm had turned red. He quickly noticed that much of the skin looked the same way. Oh, the snow melted all over me is starting to bother me, she said with a shrug as she scratched her leg. Her whole body itched from the water soaking her clothes. Huh? Right, humans like water, Ceres reminded herself, realizing that Rain had very little knowledge about her home realm. He did not know how dangerous water was to Ender beings. Enderkin don't really like water. It won't hurt us. Enderkin? Ceris looked at the confused expression on her friend's face. Yeah, Enderkin, like me. Rain blinked twice. So, are you a human Enderman cross, not a human with Enderman powers? Ceris chuckled. No. She took a moment to think of a good explanation. More like a different species that has some similarities to humans. Anyways, water won't hurt an enderkin like me usually, unless I'm exposed to water for a long time or I already have injuries. But it does cause irritation. I'll probably be itchy for a day or so. She scratched at the left side of her face and grimaced instantly. The water had amplified the pain from the bruise Rain gave her yesterday. Rain frowned and looked into his half-empty coffee cup. I'm sorry. If I had known, I would have thought of a different activity. Deep regret bit his mind for hurting his friend. He sighed. See, I told you I haven't been the friendliest person in a while. I'm not a good choice for a friend. He looked out the window, trying to avoid her concerned glance. Hey, it's no big deal. That was fun, and I'm willing to risk getting something like this happening if it means we have fun. She got out of her seat and walked to his side of the table. And don't call yourself a bad friend choice, because you're the first person who's been a true friend to me in a long time. Even though we haven't even known each other for a full day, I already feel like we can become best friends. Rain turned his head quickly to look at her, who now stood next to him. Really? He stood up too. Sarah smiled. Of course. Is it okay if I give you a hug? Rain smiled too, trying to pretend that happy tears were not forming in his eyes. Yeah. They wrapped their arms around each other. Thank you, best friend. You're welcome, best friend, Ceris said.